Good morning, guys. So first of all, thanks for joining the webinar, even though in the meeting, even though in the weekend. So this is Vignesh. This is my fourth year in my DBOps, and today we are going to going to see the topic of security features in MySQL 8.0. So before going to the topic, let's have a look into the my DBOps and about me. So this is about myself. So I got certified in MySQL 5.7 and also AWS Cloud Architect certified. And about my DBOps, so in my DBOps, we have a like 50 member of team, and we are doing like service on top of the open source databases. And we are the official partner of AWS and PCA certificate also we got. So inside my DBOps, we have two services available on consulting and managed one. So we are mainly focused on the into the MySQL, MongoDB, and PostgreSQL. So these are our happy customers. So let's get into the agenda. So today we are going to see about security features. So if we tell about a security user, then definitely authorization and authentication will come into this, and encryption will also be the part of the slides. Let's move. Yeah. So first one is authorization. So MySQL 8.0, so they have introduced a new concept called user roles. So user roles is nothing but a collection of privileges, and so it is actually used for a DB to managing the privileges across the users. And we have a syntax also for this. The syntax is nothing different. So it is like we have to use the same syntax whatever you are using for the user creation and the user drop. So let's see about some examples for the user roles and how it is using in the production environment. So here I am creating two schemas. One is production and testing. And along with this, I am creating 6 roles. One is for read and write, and testing for testing and production. I am creating separately. So yeah, so here I am giving for testing read role, I am giving select for only the testing schema. And meanwhile, like same, I'm giving for the production the same like this. And for the write user, I'm giving DML operation to perform it. So if you want to check the grants which is assigned to the particular role, we can like look into this like using the show grants itself. Here I have shown it. And so after creating the role, we have to create a user. So here we have a like consider we have a request from a team like a data team. So we have to create this user, and I'm giving it the read privileges, whatever the read roles which we have created earlier. So I'm applying here. And for app user, so we are giving the write privileges. So whatever the rights roles we have given to the roles, I am assigning to the app user. So while checking the grants, it will show the grants, what are the roles it is attached already. So like if we get for a small number of user creation, it is not going to be like we cannot see the difference. So you consider if we get the user creation request for multiple user with the multiple privileges, then it is going to be used like very much, because we can create a role and we can apply all the privileges whatever we want inside that, and we can apply the roles easily. Yeah. So while introducing this user roles, so MySQL team has introduced two more new variables. One is mandatory roles and another one is activate all roles on login. So to do the change, like to set the variable, we need a role admin privilege. And one more important thing is like we cannot add any system user privilege into the mandatory role and the activate all roles on login. So these variables, we cannot add the system user privilege. So let's see about the mandatory roles and activate all roles on login. So mandatory roles. So it means like so if we give like we can give some specific roles, like consider if you are creating a user, then like for all the users, if we are telling like for this instance, any user can read any data. So we can give, we can create a role with the read privilege for all the schemas, and in the mandatory role, we can attach the particular role. So whenever a new user login, like whenever the user log into the schema, log into the server, so it will have the default roles, the mandatory roles. And if we enable the activate all roles on login, it will enable so whatever the roles we have in it our server. So here I am telling you how the user creation, user roles are working. So we are logging using username. So initially the authentication will happen. So after that, it will apply the mandatory rules and the activate all roles if it is there. So after that, whatever the specific user privilege is there, it will apply to that. Yeah. So here I have in the mandatory roles, I have given testing grid. I am creating the user. And after that, without giving any privileges, I am trying to log in the server. Yeah. So if we set the show branch, the testing grid will be there. Yeah. So the pros about this user roles is we can easily manage the user and privileges across for a bigger environment. We can easily manage, and it is giving more control to the DB administrators. Yeah. So this is about the authorization. So next we can go into the encryption. So in encryption, MySQL team has done a very good job. They have done a end-to-end encryption, like for complete all the data at rest encryption has been done. So we can enable it respectively. So the first one is binlog encryption. So binlog encryption. So they have introduced at 8.0.14, and this is the encryption at rest. So this encryption will be applicable for binary log and also for relay log. And to enable the binlog encryption, we need a keyring. Keyring need to be set up already. And to change this, like to enable the binlog encryption, we need a privilege of a binlog encryption admin. And whenever the binlog is encrypted, there will be a key. It is created into the, which is added to the binlog header. So that key will be called as master key. So we can rotate the key periodically by adding a variable into the CNF. So whenever the server restart, so the master key will get rotated. And alter instance, like if you want to rotate the key manually, we can do a alter. So here I have provided the alter query. And yeah, let's move into the setup, how we have to set up this. Yeah. So I'm enabling the binlog encryption directly. So it is telling me the error. So when we read the error, it is telling the keyring is not present. So we have to definitely, the thing is we need to enable the keyring plugin by using this. After this, after enabling the keyring plugin, I am enabling the binlog encryption. Yeah. So when we see the show binary logs, it is enabled. When we see a show binary logs, it is telling the last binary log is encrypted. So let's see about the architecture of the encryption, like how it is happening in behind. So this is our binlog data. So this is actually a two-tier encryption. So initially the first tier will be the file password, and the second tier will be a binlog encryption key. So let's see the difference between the unencrypted and the encrypted backup. So in an encrypted backup, we will be having a header of a 512 bytes, and in binlog, like in an unencrypted binlog, we won't have that header file. So this header file will have the information of the encryption key and everything. So that detailed architecture I have provided here. Yeah. So as we have said earlier, this is a two-tier architecture. So it will have the encrypted file password in this segment, and the encryption key will be present here in the replication encryption key ID, and magic number will have the like details of whether the binlog is encrypted or not. So if we want to check the binlog is encrypted or not from the Linux level, we can do that using the hex dump. So here I am taking two binary logs for the example. One is 006 and another one is 007. As we can see, 006 is not encrypted. So I am trying the hex jump for the 006. It will give the output like FE6. So if I'm trying for the encrypted binlock, it will be different. So this will be the difference. Like we can identify from the Linux level perspective itself whether the binlock is encrypted or not. And yeah, so the next question is, we can able to decode the encrypted binlock or not? Definitely not. So we cannot directly see the actually we cannot directly see the binary log. We cannot directly decode the binary log as we are doing for the unencrypted one. So it will show the error like it is not supported. So if we want to decode the binary log, then what we have to do is like we have to use the remote host option in a running server. So with the use of the running server only, we can able to decode the binary log. So this is the decoded binary log. Yeah. And let's see about the pros and cons of this. Definitely the pros are more. So we without without encryption key, we cannot actually decrypt this, and it is more secure also. So if someone is like having our binary log, and if they can able to reproduce our data, but here we cannot do that actually. And we have a little bit of cons also. So the CPU usage will be like little bit more because we are doing the encryption, right? So that time the CPU will be the usage. We can see the difference for the encrypted and the unencrypted. And slave must, we have to create a slave using the encrypted format only if the master is already encrypted. And the final one is we cannot easily read the binary logs without the encryption key. Yeah. So this is all about binary log encryption. Let's move into the tablespace encryption. So the TDE, so it is introduced in 5.7 itself. But one thing is default table encryption. So it is a new option which is came after the 8.0.16. So what is the purpose of this default table encryption is in the 5.7, actually, if you want to enable a encryption for a particular table space, we have to mention while creating the table, the encryption is equal to Y. But here in 8.0.16, if we enable the default table encryption, then whatever the tables which we are creating after this, then it will be automatically encrypted. Okay, so this includes general tablespace and file per tablespace as well. And if you want to overcome this, like if you want to create a unencrypted tablespace, then we should be having tablespace encryption admin. So using that admin, we can override this. And yeah, so the next one is MySQL schema encryption. So it is also introduced from 8.0.16, and by default, it will be unencrypted. So we all know that MySQL users and grants, all the things will be stored in the MySQL privilege, MySQL schema. So it's better to encrypt that MySQL schema as well. So if we want to encrypt this, then we can alter the table space and we can encrypt it. So after encryption, we can see that the MySQL is and the table is encrypted. Here we can see. Yeah. So let's move into next encryption. So that is double rate encryption. So this has been introduced in 8.0.23, and we don't have the variable for this because so whatever the table space which is already encrypted, so the data corresponding to that in the double rate will be encrypted or like by default. And if the table is not encrypted, it will be in the unencrypted form. So double rate buffer also, like here double rate also they have done the encryption. And the next thing is the main one, so the redo and the undo. So here we have the variables to control. So by default, it will be in the off state. So the two variables are InnoDB redo log encrypt and InnoDB undo log encrypt. And if you want to enable it, we can turn it into enable. And as we have told earlier in the binary log encryption, there will be a header file. Like that header file will have the information of the encryption key. So here also in undo log, the header file will be there, and in that header file, the encryption details will be present. But in case of redo log, so we'll be having multiple redo logs in some cases. So in that case, so what will happen? Like the first redo log will have the information of the encryption key, that is IB underscore log underscore file 0. Okay. So next we will see the redo and unlock encryption. The process began the redo and undo encryption. Okay. So let's consider we have enabled the redo and undo encryption. So whenever like all the data are encrypted now, so whenever the memory wants the encrypted data, so what it will do from the disk, it will like from the header, it will go to the header and using the encryption key, it will decrypt it and it will move to the data will be moved to the memory. And whenever the data which wants to flush to the disk, from the disk, it will move to the, from the memory, it will move to the disk. So using the header file, it will encrypt it and store it. And in case of if sometime like if we want to disable the redo and undo encryption, we can disable it. And the thing is like whatever the data which is already encrypted in the redo and undo, it will not be flushed. So the new data which is coming from the memory, it will be in the unencrypted format. The old data will be in the encrypted format. So after that only it will flush. Yeah, so this is the process behind this. So yeah, so this is all about encryption. So they have done a complete end-to-end encryption here. And let's see about the authentication. So they have introduced many interesting topics in the authentication actually. So let's
Hi,
see one.
Vignesh. Sorry to interrupt. Before we go into the authentication, we have three questions from Prakash, Anand, and Jyoti, which is posted in the Q&A tag.
Yeah,
Would you like to address that?
yeah. Can we like do it in a last?
Sure. If you want to do
Yeah,
it in the
let's
last, it's fine.
complete it. So we will have a Q&A session at the last. It will be good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So authentication. So we have a interesting topics in the authentication. The first one is dual password. So it is actually introduced in 8.0.14. So the purpose of introducing the dual password is whenever we change the password, there will be a downtime from the application end because we have to change our connection string completely and we have to do a reset also in some applications. So instead of doing at the same time, so MySQL has provided one option. So we can retain the passwords and we can at the same time, we can have the old password and the new password in the online itself. So let's see the how the operation behind this dual password. Yeah. So this is our app. It's currently like it is using a one password. And whenever we want to change a new password, so what we can do is like it will MySQL will create a like new password with the primary pass, and the old password will be named as secondary pass. So whenever like once we have completed our application connection string everything, whenever we want to discard that old password, we can remove it. So we can remove it from the MySQL. So after that, the new password will be applicable for the particular user. So during this time, we can log in the MySQL using the two passwords. Both the passwords will work during the migration time. Yeah. So this is the example for that. I'm creating a dual user pass and I'm creating with some like password. And after that, I am changing the password and I'm reading, so meanwhile, I'm reading the current password as well. Okay. So at this point of time, I'm trying MySQL is able to do uh, both the password login or not. So yeah, perfectly it is able to do both the password. With the use of both the passwords, the MySQL is able to log in. And whenever the migration is completed, we can discard the old password. So this is the syntax for that. So with the use of this, we can easily actually migrate the passwords and everything. And it has more flexible also. And irrespective of time, we can change any password. And there will be only a minimal downtime will be there in the application side. So this is all about a dual password. So the next one is, yeah, temporary account locking. So it was actually introduced in 8.0.119. So the concept behind is that so whenever the user try to log in, like whenever he do the fail logins consecutively, so what MySQL will do, it will count it. It will count it, and after a specific consecutive retries, it will lock the account. Yeah, so this is the concept, and by default it will be in the disable mode. So if we want to enable it, we can do that. We can do that using alter user for a particular user, specific user. We can do it, and yeah. So this temporary account locking, the same rules will be applicable for the dual password. If you are creating the dual password as well, so the retrace will be same. The retrace count will be same. Let's see an example. Yeah, here I am creating a user with the failed login attempts of 3. So after the three failed login attempts, consecutive login attempts, the password will get locked for 4 days. So I'm testing it. So I'm giving MySQL and hyphen like password. I'm giving wrong passwords. And guys, so one more thing. So we should not use the password in the CLI for the testing purpose. I'm giving it in the CLI itself. Yeah. So whenever we tried in the whenever it reaches the third login, it is telling me the error. The account is locked for 4 days. And even like after that, even though I am giving the right password, the account cannot be logged into the MySQL. So this is the concept behind it. And if we want to disable the like lock the account completely, we can give that the option is there. So instead of 4, we have to give like unbounded. So it will completely lock the account. And yeah, so when the reset will happen, the account reset, when the reset will happen. So there are two things. One is we can do it in the global reset, and per account reset also we can do. So if we see about the per account reset, what we have to do is like we have to do the alter user and unlock account we have to do. And in the global reset, so it will be for the specific user we can able to do. And if you give the global like plus privileges, or if the server is restarted, or if the server is started with skip grant tables, the global reset will happen. It will be applicable for the all the accounts which is in the lock mode. Yeah. So yeah, so similar to this, we have another plugin also. So connection control plugin. And what it will do is like instead of locking the account, what it will do, it will add a delay to a login time. So like consider we have a after 3 attempts, it will log like it will give a lag of 1 second. And in the fourth time also, if you are failing to log in, it will add 1 more second. So login time will get increase. So using this actually, we can like slow down the attacks. If any attacks are happening, we can slow down it. So this is actually like MySQL has done a backward compatibility also. So it is possible in 5.7 as well. So this library has two plugins actually. So one is connection control and another one is it will check for the monitoring. So connection control, what it will do, it will check the incoming connections and adds a delay. So it is a responsibility for the connection control. And the another plugin will create a monitoring table inside the information schema. So in that monitoring table, we can see what are the users which has done the failed attempts. Let's see the installation of this connection control. So this is how we have to install it. The two plugins we have to install. And if you want to persist this, then we have to put this entry in the CNF. And from the information schema, we can able to see the plugin is active. Yeah. So when we see about the configuration and monitoring, so we have 3 variables to configure here. The first one is connection control fail connection threshold. So whenever like it defines the threshold, like after how much failed retrace, the delay needs to be added. So here by default it is 3 is that. So after the third consecutive failure attempt, so in the fourth attempt it will add a 1 second of lag. So it is actually noted in the millisecond. So this is by default it is a thousand milliseconds. So it will add 1 second lag. So the fourth time also we have done the failure attempt, it will add 2 seconds. So like this, it will increment the login time. Yeah. So as I have told earlier, the connection control fail login attempts, this will create a table inside the information schema. So from this table, we can able to see what are the users which has done the failed attempts. So if any user done the positive attempts, if they have login, then the user like the data will be removed from this monitoring. Yeah. So this is all about the connection control. And next thing is catching access to password. So from MySQL 8.0, right? So this is a default authentication plugin, and it has been already introduced in 5.7, but it was not set as a default one. From 8.0, it is set as a default one, and it implements a SHA-256 authentication. So what is the difference between SHA-256 authentication and catching access to password is like we can do the authentication will be very faster. The reason is like the server side catching. So the cache will be there in the server side. So because of this, the authentication will be more faster. And one more thing about this SHA password. So what will happen is like, even though we create a same user, like same password for a different user, the hash which is present in the authentication string inside the MySQL user table will be different. So it is a good feature for the security. So let's see about the catching, how it works in behind. Yeah. So whenever we are accessing the MySQL at first, it will go to the MySQL.user system table and it will match the password. And whenever the password matches, it will go to it will log. We can able to log in the MySQL. And so at the same time, what catching will do, it will put it in a in-memory caching. And whenever the same user is trying to log in with another attempt, so instead of going to the MySQL table, it will match the password in the memory itself. So the catching will be more fast. So the authentication will be more faster. And yeah, so for clearing the cache, this will happen in below conditions when we give the flash privileges, or when the user is renamed or dropped, or when the server is restarted. So the cache will be get reset. So to doing the cache, clearing the cache, so there is a background thread which is applied, which is SHA cache cleaner. So this is what I have told in the first slide. So the cache creation, the hash creation. So what happening is like, so I have created two users. One is dual password pass and user test. So I have both for both the user, I am creating using the same password, but the authentication string will be different. So in case of a MySQL native plugin, so what will happen? It will show the authentication, like same authentication string. So if some user, like if you have created a same user for multiple user, if they have the access for the MySQL user table, they can easily able to crack this. So this is a good security feature which they have added in the SHA-2 password. Yeah, guys. So this is all about authentication. Yeah. So here I have listed what are the features which is included in the 8.0 and 5.7 and 5.6. So let's have a look on this. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, guys. So I am done. So thank you. Any queries from your side? I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Vignesh, for an astounding session on MySQL security features. We have a couple of questions, and I think there is one from Manali Desi, and it is mentioned: can we decrease time period, like 4 days, for locking temporary account locking?
Yeah, we can reduce it. We can reduce it to 1 day. 1 day is a minimum.
Okay, great. And also, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask the speaker by yourself, you can just raise your hands, and I will unmute you to speak with Vignesh on this. Okay, I have three people who have raised a question. So let me first unmute Perianan. One second. Yeah, Perianan, over to you.
Hi Vignesh, this is Periyanan. Yeah, I saw your, that Winlog encryption one. Okay, you told right. Yeah, means I have one master server. In my master server, I encrypted my binlog, but I cannot able to read the master server. I cannot able to read the binlog, right? So you told you need to log in via remote and then can able to read. Is it something that I didn't clear up?
We cannot read it. We can decode it actually. Without encryption key, we cannot read it actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What is that? The remote means if you want to decode the encrypted bin log, you need to log
Yeah.
in from remote host something you said, right? What is
Not
that
remote
means?
host. So there is a, yeah, let me explain. So there
Okay,
is an
can you go
option
to
in
the slide, please?
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one.
So this is the option. So there is an option in
Okay.
MySQL bin log, a remote read from host. So the short form is a -r. So by using this, it will use the running server, whatever the running server inside the I have given the host. So
Okay.
using that, we can able to decode it.
Okay. So in this case, do I need any keying, decrypt keying,
No, actually,
key?
we cannot see the binary log. Binary log data we cannot see. We can only
Okay.
decode the binary log. So for decrypt the binary log, there is no native, like there is no official thing is there to decrypt the binary log. So that's why I have added in the cons. We cannot easily read it.
Okay. So we cannot use any decode rows also.
Decode, we can do the decodes, but we cannot see the data, whatever the
Data.
data which is
Okay.
added. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, and I could see Girish also was popped his hand. Over to you, Girish.
Yeah, thank you. So Vignesh, actually, this is related to authentication. So the like native authentication will be there, right, from 5.7. So when migrating
Yeah.
to the 8.2, so it like a default, it will be taking the cache 2, right?
Yeah. Correct.
So
Correct.
the same password you can't able to use it here, right? So how to use the same password in the 5.7 and 8. So because authentic, because we don't know the password from the user in the 5.7. So same, because
Okay.
authentication thing will be only we can able to see, but if you have to use the same password, we are unable to connect. So it is by default is
Uh,
creating like a cache two only, the encryption method.
yeah.
And so when you are
The
trying to
use
manually, yeah, manually only if you create the user password, we can able to connect. But always we can't able to get the password from the users, right?
yeah, correct. So for this migration,
Huh.
right? So we have to plan it accordingly before going to the like upgradation. We have to plan this. So after the proper planning, only we have to migrate these things because we will be facing these issue like failure issue.
Okay, so in the case, so we have to get the passwords and have to reset it, and then the 8 version, we have to do it. That is
Yeah,
the only
correct.
one option.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, thank you.
So if I will look into like any other solution out there. So if it is there, then we will put it in our future blocks.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. And we have other attendees who also have raised, and we have Shubham who has raised his hand. Over to you, Shubham. Shubham, you can post your question to Vignesh.
Hello. Hi, Vignesh. This is Shubham here. So my question was also regarding that migration perspective only. So you already answered that. So I'm clear. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Fine, man. Cool.
Great, thank you. And we also have Jyoti who has raised his hand. Let me. Yes, over to you, Jyoti.
Hello, I'm audible.
Yes, you
Yeah,
are.
Jyoti. Yeah.
Yeah, hi Vignesh. Thank you. This must say this is a very informative session. And my question is regarding encrypting the binary logs. So
Okay.
we have like in the night session we have like 20 GB of one binary log file. Means that much transaction is performed and which is recorded under one binary log. So my question was, will it encrypting affect the performance in replication channel? Like it is already taking long time to apply the 20 log GB binary log file. So encrypting and decrypting will make a bit difference. But have you like tested or anything? You have benchmark or something?
Yeah, Jyoti. The question I'm able to get the question completely, and Yeah, so as I have told earlier, the CPU, we can able to see the difference between the encrypted and using the encrypted and unencrypted bin logs, because the CPU utilization will be little bit more. But based on the transaction which is already present in the binary logs, right, which is already happened in the master. So definitely, like it will be like dependent on the transaction also. And regarding the benchmark, so we have not like till now I haven't tested it. So like if you give the request, then I will note it down, and like we will do the benchmark, and we will let you know in the future blocks
Okay,
or the
sure. And
presentations.
okay. So, and this all features are available with the community version also, right?
Yeah, correct, correct. So I
Uh,
have completely talked about the community version only.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. That's it from my side.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your positive feedback, Jyoti. And we have Anand who also have raised his hand. Let me unmute Anand. Over to you, Anand.
Hey, thanks, man. Actually, Vinod cleared my doubts in the Q&A session on the in that chat box on there. So I'm clear now. Thanks.
That's great. That's great. Hey, thank you, Vignesh, for your astounding session. It was really informative, and I really look forward for more sessions from your end very soon.